It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. Hello, how you guys doing this evening? Hopefully you guys are doing well. I'm just about the same as usual, nothing too crazy. Hopefully all this streaming stuff is going to work. I'm still struggling with all this live streaming stuff, but it seems to be working, so we'll see how this goes. I just want to say thank you very much to all the people that watch my videos. You guys are awesome. I really do appreciate it. I try to share the little bit of knowledge that I have, okay? For the new guys that are coming into the stream, my name is, exactly, Untamed Kangle, a can of apple juice, that's right. So my name is Chris. I'm an HVACR service technician here in Southern California. I started making these videos for my own technicians, and then it just kind of evolved from there. Turned into something that it got even bigger than I ever imagined it, to the point that I couldn't answer questions anymore through emails and text messages and Facebook. It was just too much, okay? So that's why I do these live streams. I like to just kind of compile the questions that I get and then try to answer them all live, and then also answer questions from the chat. If you guys don't already know, if people are watching this and they don't know, if you're watching it on YouTube, there's a live chat feature. So you got to click the live chat and you'll see there's a whole conversation going on, okay? So I encourage you to be involved in the live chat. It's usually a pretty chill environment, nothing too crazy. So really appreciate it. Now, I have a question here. Hello to everybody that's coming in here. You guys are awesome. And let me see, what are the rules tonight? There's not really any rules to my stream, Steve. Nothing too crazy, okay? Really appreciate. Hey, Jeff, I saw that you became a member of my channel. Thank you very much, Jeff. That's awesome, guys. Jeff, the maintenance man. He has a YouTube channel, too. Puts up videos on there. So you can click on his username, and it'll show his channel title. If my new cloud moderator thing will work, then I am going to play a little game. And I'm trying to make sure that this thing's going to work. So let me put this in right now. I want to make sure that I'm going to change something over, and I'm going to change this interval to 1 minute. Let me change this to 1 just to make sure that this pops up in the chat. And if it does, then I have something to do. So let's hold on just 1 second and see if this pops up here. I'm using Streamlabs, so let's see if it works right. It's supposed to do a timer and pop something up here in just a minute, and let's see if it does or not, okay? So I want to start off as usual, talk about a couple videos that I had. I'm just waiting to see if this Streamlab thing pops up. I don't know if it's going to or not. I know the chat's got kind of a lag, so forgive me, guys. I'm just waiting to see if this thing will actually work or if it's becoming a problem. Anyways, I want to cover my two videos. I want to talk about those that I released this last week, okay? The first one was on a set of cook drawers that weren't working properly, and I definitely want to cover that because I got a lot of questions about the... yeah, see, it's still not coming up. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. I'll figure out another way. I'll make the Nightbot do it or something like that. For some reason, yeah, this isn't popping up. I have a better way of doing this. Here's what we're going to do. So this is what I'm going to do. Well, I'll do it here in just a minute. So the first one was on a set of cook drawers, and the unit was low on charge and had multiple refrigerant leaks, okay? So I want to cover this whole way that I check the refrigerant level in the system, okay? Very important. So I use the pump down method where I pump down the liquid line receiver and check the liquid level in the receiver. Now, first and foremost, I highly suggest that if you guys are going to be working on systems that have head pressure control valves, which mine did, okay, whenever possible, you want to follow the Sporlan 90-30-1 method, okay? It's very important. The 90-30-1 method is going to help you to figure out the correct amount of refrigerant for the system, okay? But there's times when that method doesn't really work, okay? And what I have a shortcut. My shortcut is simply to put the maximum amount of refrigerant in the system that's safe, okay? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be enough. The system has to be designed properly, okay? There's certain situations that you walk up onto a system that's low on charge, and it's going to be hard to figure out exactly how much charge is going to need to make it work correctly, okay? So what I do is I pump down the receiver, and then once it's pumped down and it satisfies on low pressure, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a heat-producing device, and I'm going to find the liquid level in the system, okay? So if you take a heat-producing device, there we go. So Streamlabs is working, okay. All right, so guys, you see that in the chat right now. I'm going to change this. I just wanted to make sure that this thing was going to work. So cool. This works right now. Let me change this up to, let me just delete that one. I'll just turn that one off. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so you guys see, I'm gonna go back to my thing real quick. I'm gonna cover this up, okay? So you see the Streamlabs comment right now, okay? The first, and I'll cover it too. The first email that I get with the correct name of the movie, and the quotes will be popping up here as the stream goes on. The first email that I get, I will ship you something, okay? I have a couple different items. I will ship anywhere in the United States and possibly into Canada. We'll just discuss the shipping costs, okay? It's really not, I have a couple different options, and so we can talk about it. But the first person, and basically you got to send me an email, okay? And I'm sorry I stopped talking about the whole Headmaster thing. I'll go back to that, okay? But so the first person that sends me an email with the correct movie name, okay? So there's going to be 4 quotes that pop inside there, 5 quotes, okay? The 5th is like the easiest one, so they should pop in order. And like I said, the first person to send me an email. Okay, now I know that multiple people are going to send me an email. That's fine. I'm just going to respond to the one that is first. Okay, so if you don't see a response from me, that means you didn't win. Okay, so I'm not going to promise that I'm going to do this every single time on these streams. I just have a couple things around my office that I can send out. Okay, so as Nightbot pops them in, check it out. Okay, all right. Anyways, sorry guys. You guys will have to guess for the people asking. You'll see the chat, the quotes will pop up. Okay. So anyways, back to the head pressure control valves. If at all possible, use the Sporlan 90-30-1 method. Okay. Now here's the situation though. 90-30-1 method will only work on a standard tube and fin condenser coil. Okay. So that means copper tube, aluminum fin, steel fin, whatever it is, but it has to be copper tube. When you have microchannel, okay, microchannel does not use the Sporlan 90-30-1 method, all right? The microchannel is a little bit different, and there is some calculations that you can do, like if you're working on a Heatcraft condensing unit, they do have some calculations. Just understand something. With a microchannel condenser, oftentimes the winter charge or the flooded charge is like ounces or a pound and an ounce. I mean, it's very minimal compared to what the flooded charge would be with a standard tube and fin condenser. Sometimes can be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, it can be ridiculous amounts of refrigerant. All right. So if you can't safely calculate the correct flooded charge, okay, what I will typically do is add the maximum amount of refrigerant to the system. Now, here's the difficult thing though. Sometimes you can have a giant receiver on your system. If you have a giant receiver, all right, and it might be so big that it's going to take tons and tons of extra refrigerant that's unnecessary for the system. So you have to do your best to try to calculate the proper flooded charge. But again, if you can't, what I typically do, and this is a way old school method, is fill the system up with a maximum amount of refrigerant, okay? So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump the system down and I'm going to find the liquid level in the receiver when it's pumped down, okay? So what I will do is take a heat producing device. Not going to tell you what to use, but here's the important thing. Whatever heat producing device that you guys use, you have to make sure that it doesn't heat the system up past the critical point. You can't heat up the soft plug. A lot of times the receivers have a soft plug that has basically a solder that has a really low melting point, and it will basically melt at a certain temperature. Well, if you take that heat producing device and you wave it across that soft plug, you can have a hard time. So you need to be very, very careful, okay? And that's also why I won't tell you guys what kind of heat producing device I'm going to use. It has to be a heat producing device that doesn't get any hotter than the maximum temperature of the receiver. You have to be very careful about that. And what you'll know, or what you'll find out, is that where the liquid is in the receiver versus there's a certain point where there's going to be vapor and where there's going to be liquid, and you'll feel a temperature difference. So all of a sudden you'll be running your fingers, or you can take a thermal camera. I actually used a thermal camera on mine too, but you can run your fingers from the bottom to the top, and all of a sudden it'll get hot. Boom, there's your liquid level. Okay. Now again, I highly encourage you guys to use the proper Spoilin 90-30-1 method, or lean on the manufacturer of whatever particular equipment you're working on. Okay. But if you can't figure that out, I'll oftentimes do that. Okay. So that's my little trick. Just be careful, you guys. Make sure that nobody hurts themselves. If you blow yourself up, don't blame me because I told you not to do it. That kind of stuff, okay? All right. Lead mining. No, I've never heard that method before. Charge to 105 condensing temp for 404. That doesn't quite make sense to me, lead mining. I mean, if you have a head pressure control valve and... again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I've just never heard that method before. So cover the condenser with cardboard, charge to 105 condensing for 404. No, because if you cover the condenser with cardboard, you're only going to charge to whatever temperature or condensing temp that you make the system. When you take that cardboard off and the system gets really cold and the condensing temp drops, then you're going to run out of liquid refrigerant and you're going to have a problem. I'm not calling you out. I'm just having a discussion. Okay. So, feel free to send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com and we can talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, I've never heard that method before, and I can't say that method would work for me because, yeah, but anyways, so. All right, let's see what else. Oh yeah, see the movie quotes are already popping up. So this is, shoot, man, it's popping them up too quick. So again, the first person to send me an email with the name of the movie that the movie quotes are should be pretty easy. So again, I'll send you a prize for the first person. So let's see. Oh, okay, looks like people are already sending them. Yep, people are already sending them. So all right, I got plenty of people. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the movie quotes then because that way people don't keep seeing them there. And let me turn those off. So I already got the answers to the movie in there. So, yep, so those are off right there. Cool. So the other stuff will still pop up. Let's see. Do I prefer water misting, water-cooled condensers, or normal condensers? Do they have aluminum coils inside condensers? I don't know about that one, bud. So I prefer just a standard air-cooled condenser. I've worked on water-cooled before, but if it has water-cooled, there's a lot of water treatment that needs to be done, or your condenser coil will get fouled, is what they call it, when they get dirty inside. They get like mud and sediment. So I prefer just a air-cooled condenser, and then, but I'd rather not put a misting device on an air-cooled condenser if I don't have to, okay? It's probably not as efficient as possible, but I've put in swamp coolers blowing directly on a condenser before, if you have to. like in a high temperature environment out in the middle of the desert. I've done that before, but I wouldn't recommend doing a water misting device because that's just going to lead to horrible calcium issues and it's just going to cause all kinds of problems. So wouldn't suggest that one. Let's see. I already answered that one. Do I think trade school is necessary to become a service technician? Smith 666. No, it is not necessary, but I highly suggest some sort of trade school. Okay, first off, I'm going to give my trade school spiel. Okay, I don't suggest that you go and spend a crazy amount of money until you're absolutely sure, okay, that you want to be involved in the HVAC trade. What I would highly suggest is maybe taking some night classes at your local community college. All right. You can do those while you still have any kind of a job and just go to school at nighttime. And then maybe apply with someone and see if that's something you want to do. Then you could further, go into your education. You can make the decision on whether or not you want to spend it on a private college. I just hate for people to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars up front and then walk away with not an amazing education. I'm not saying that there's all bad schools out there, but there is a lot of bad schools. Make sure that you guys do your research. When you go to a school, don't just pick the first one that you find. Interview the school. Ask them if you can shadow a couple classes. Go in there and watch how they teach. Watch the instructors. Look and see if those instructors seem passionate. I definitely know of some private colleges or private trade schools that give an amazing education, but I also know of a lot of really bad trade schools that give horrible educations too. All right. So you definitely need to do your research. But if you can find the right person to train under, no, you don't need to go to trade school. It'd definitely be a benefit though. Okay. I benefited from trade school. I learned from my father. I grew up working in HVAC, working in restaurants and all the same stuff I do today. I learned his method, and then my cousin worked for us too. I learned my cousin's method, and then I went to a local community college. The school I went to was Mount San Antonio Community College in Walnut, California. I did night classes there for many years. And all three of the education resources I had, my dad, my cousin, and the community college, they all helped to build the knowledge that I have. So they all gave me different ways of doing things, and then they all kind of tied in together and made sense. So any education is better than no education, but do you have to go to a trade school to become an HVAC technician? Not necessarily. Now, I will also say that you need to be careful depending on what part of the industry you're going into and or what companies you want to work for. Maybe they have a requirement, okay? Also, some states have licensing requirements and different things like that. So you got to kind of figure out what your state requires of you. But in general, no, you do not have to go to a trade school to be an HVAC technician. Not in general, okay? I really appreciate that super chat, Ike. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. All right. Again, I see tons of comments in here. Thank you, guys. All right, let's see if I can get to best chemical. HVAC with Greg is asking me the best chemical to clean an evaporator coil. You've noticed ours is smelly and dusty, like lately, like it was raining. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. HVAC with Greg, I highly suggest looking into refrigeration technology products. Okay, I have no affiliation with them. They are a local small business here in California. They're gaining some traction within the industry. They've been around for a very long time, and they make amazing products. And they're safe products, I guess I should say, environmentally friendly or whatever. I don't know. Those are some relative terms, but they are safe products, and they have lots of great metal safe products, different things like that. Okay, so definitely look into Refrigeration Technologies. Their Hvacr brand of coil cleaners is awesome, and I really appreciate their products. They make so much stuff. So just Google them or whatever, and you'll find all kinds of great products that they make. I don't think there's anything that I don't like that they make. I don't necessarily use everything they make, but I'd be willing to stand up and say they're a very good company. So thank you very much for the super chat there, Joe. I really appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'd really appreciate if anybody would hit the thumbs up button if you haven't already. That really does help out the stream, so please do so. All right, I'm going to get to some of my oh wow, that's funny. Streamlabs tells when people super chatted. That's weird. I'll have to turn that off. I don't know how to turn it off right now, but I guess you guys will just have to deal with the Streamlabs thing saying that right now. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my stuff here right now. I do want to point out that Sporlan right now has been releasing a lot of really cool videos on their YouTube channel. They have like a supermarket seminar series that they're going through where they're going through a lot of supermarket components right now, and it is on their YouTube channel. Sporlan also does live webinars where, you know, they'll have someone on there and then you could listen to it live, but then they upload it to their YouTube channel after. Okay, so definitely go check out Sporlan's YouTube channel, guys. I'm always promoting their stuff. And yes, they are a sponsor of my channel, but I really do believe in what Sporlan does. Sporlan makes amazing products, and I really have always liked them. That's why they work. That's why you notice that I don't have a bunch of sponsors, because I'm very picky about the people that I want to work with, okay? So check out Sporlan's YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I just put a link in the comments right now, and definitely check it out, okay? I definitely want to cover the fact that I make mistakes. Okay, I have that on my list of things to talk about right now. I'm human. I'm not perfect. I definitely try to point that out in my videos. Okay, I'm probably my own worst critic. I probably see more flaws than you guys ever see. You know, and I'm pretty harsh, I guess I should say, on myself, because I want to make sure that, you know, what I do put on video is somewhat correct. But even still, I'm not perfect. Okay, I make mistakes, but sometimes I learn from my mistakes, though, okay? And that's what I believe helps me to become a better technician, is the fact that I do learn from my mistakes. So, you know, things like when in my video, when I was talking about the line set replacement video, okay? One of the really important tips that just popped up in my head when I was brazing a suction line was that I was wearing a headscarf, okay? I wear a headscarf sometimes when it's really sunny, so that way the sun doesn't hit the back of my neck. So I'll just put it under my hat, you know, put the headscarf on. And oftentimes the headscarf will fall down. And as I'm brazing, I notice that like it kind of comes down and gets close to the flame. Not just a headscarf, but everything in general. When you guys are working, doing things, remember, I say this quite often, but you got to try to predict the worst case scenario. All right. So before I turn my torches on in my head, you know, without even really thinking about it, I'm thinking about, okay, what can go wrong here? Okay, I could start a fire. I could burn my hand, you know, things like that. And you have to learn how not to react. All right. And what I mean by that is, let's say, for instance, something catches on fire. Okay. Let's say, for instance, the roof tar catches on fire, and you freak out and you drop your torch and run away to go grab a hose. And when you drop your torch, it blows across your hand and burns your hand. Okay. Things like that. You got to try to remember how to not react. All right. And I've used this example before too. If you're working on a carrier package unit, all right, just a carrier weather maker package unit, you guys probably have worked on those before, and you know that when you take the compressor panel off to look at the electrical, you know, the compressors are open, right? And you have to kind of put the panel up there so you can check the electrical stuff out. But what happens if you're trying to put your service gauges on the system and you don't want to shut it off? That's a common thing. Well, carrier condenser fan motors are really close to the compressors, depending on the model. And what happens if, when you're doing something, you know, something scares you and you just flail your hands and you shoot it up into the condenser fan motor? That could end up bad. It's things like that. Or say, for instance, you're reaching across the compressor to get to the suction port and you burn your arm and you spaz, you know, you jerk your arm up or something like that. It's things like that that you have to learn how not to react, all right? I've got refrigeration burns up and down my arm. Probably looks like track marks, okay? I promise I'm not a crackhead or a heroin addict, okay? But, you know, you just have to learn how to chill, all right? And, you know, stuff's going to happen. If you burn your arm, you know, you rub it against a discharge line, instead of panicking and freaking out and start flailing your arms, most of the time you've already moved, you know, just move your arm out a little bit. Just kind of think about what you're doing, and you stop burning yourself, okay? And you don't have to panic, and you're not going to potentially cause other problems, hurt yourself, that kind of stuff. So you have to learn how not to react, how to expect the worst case scenario or try to predict the worst case scenario, plan for that kind of stuff. So that way, if something does happen, you're kind of prepared, okay? So I'll try to get to the chat a little bit more. I've definitely got more things I want to cover, but we'll look at the chat and see what's going on. Yeah, Big Nate, I do. Big Nate, that is funny. Yeah, Bill does have a rather large beard, and I wonder, I've asked him before too, like, you ever worry about that thing getting stuck in an exhaust fan? But I don't know if Bill's in here. I haven't seen him today, but you know, I imagine that when you have a beard like that, you probably just get used to it, and you know things to watch for. So just kind of expect the worst, right? All right, let's see what I'm missing here. Okay, so Hamilton Mechanical, you're saying in your area they won't take any appliances at the dump or scrapyard unless they've been evacuated. I've had a fridge on my back porch for 2 years. Whole reason I got my six. Oh, okay, that's funny. Yeah, Hamilton, we have the same thing. I take refrigerators pretty much on a weekly basis. We take them to the recycling yard, and yeah, we have to recover the refrigerant out of them. And then I think there's even a they just require that we recover the refrigerant, but I think technically you're supposed to take the compressors out too, because there's refrigerant contaminated oil in those compressors. So that's kind of a gray area. But yeah, we definitely recover the charge and then go take them to the scrapyard. So would I ever be interested in working on the hot side in the restaurant industry? Lorenzo. You know, I'm sure it intrigues me, you know, doing the hot side work, but it's not something I'm going to take on at my company because it's hard enough training technicians and keeping up with the demand on the refrigeration side. Basically, and again, this goes to my like being a control freak. I don't want anything at my company that I can't handle. And I am not qualified or trained to work on hot side equipment. I'm not saying that I couldn't figure it out, but if you guys can understand what I'm saying, if one of my guys can't handle one of the refrigeration calls, I can take care of it. Okay. So I don't want to just take on a new aspect of our business and expect an employee that I hire to be the person that does that kind of stuff. I want to be able to fall back on myself to be able to fix it too. But it's hard enough to keep up with the HVAC and the refrigeration. I can't really add the hot side to it. I'd go crazy. I've thought about it. I've thought about learning how to weld so that way I can, you know, weld stainless steel and things like that, because that definitely would come in handy. If I was to add anything else to my business, it might be like stainless steel welding maybe, because that's the kind of stuff that I could sell and not have to not have to put myself out there to be able to sell some stainless steel welding jobs. I work in restaurants every day and I refer them to other welders all the time. So, but I don't think I'd ever be picking up the hot side stuff. So, all right. See question above. Let me see what I'm missing. I don't know which question, Mr. Ice. I see lots of questions. Was it your question, Mr. Ice, or was it someone else's? Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and answer your question. Most effective way to gain chain restaurants. Okay, so chain restaurant work is its own beast, and it can be a little bit difficult sometimes to get involved in chain restaurant work. What I would highly suggest, the easiest way, I guess, that I could tell someone to get involved in chain restaurant work is give the refrigeration manufacturers a call and become authorized service companies for their warranty work. Warranty work sucks. They don't pay enough money. You can't survive on warranty work in the commercial side. But warranty work will get you in the doors of chain restaurants, okay? But some chain restaurants are so big that they require the manufacturers to pay their contractors to do the warranty work. So it's a little, you know, kind of a tricky area. But your best bet to get into chain restaurant work would be doing warranty work for Delfield, Kyrac, Manitowoc, Hoshizaki, you know, any major manufacturer of refrigerators, True Manufacturing, those different ones. They're always looking for new warranty service companies. Some of them are a little bit more stingy than others. Some of them, you know, have kind of a tight little area and they don't let new contractors in. But that would probably be your best bet. Other than that, you know, banging on doors, giving business cards. Unfortunately, though, when you're dealing with chain restaurants, a lot of times the managers on site really have nothing to do with the service companies. This, you know, in chain restaurants, you're dealing with corporate offices and corporate managers that make the decisions to get a new service company or, you know, try this service company. So I'm not super smart with the networking and stuff like that, but I do know that there's networking events and there's like restaurant trade shows, you know, where, and again, I don't know the names of these, but I've seen them pop up on Facebook and different things like that, where service companies will go to these trade shows where restaurants are exhibiting or looking at exhibits of new refrigerators, and you know, they'll hand out business cards at those trade shows, because oftentimes there'll be facilities managers at the trade shows and big wigs from the corporate office walking around the trade shows. So I would definitely look into that kind of stuff. Again, I really don't know the names of those. I'm trying to think. I know there's a few of them, but they're basically trade shows for restaurants. I think it's like REFMA or something like that is one of them. But yeah, that might be another way too. You can certainly send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com and we can talk about it a little bit more. So, okay. Mr. Ice, I see it right now. So your question, you have a 16,000 BTU evaporator and a 10,000 BTU condenser. at 100-degree ambient. You're having a hard time keeping superheat consistent depending on the ambient. You start getting severe flood back. Well, your evaporator is oversized. I'm not saying that it won't work, but you're going to have a hard time with that. You're going to have a lot of dead space on your evaporator. That's a pretty technical question, Mr. Ice. I'd say probably send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com, and maybe we can talk about it a little bit more, because there's a lot more questions that I need to ask you to kind of get some more context on that one. So definitely send me an email and we can talk a little bit more, okay? Let's see what else. I really appreciate everybody that's become a member in here, you guys. Hey, I will say this right now too. So first off, I've been trying to figure out a way to say thank you to the people that are Patreon supporters and members of the channel, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm working on setting up a Discord server. Discord's a little bit different. Again, I'm still new with it, okay? But I'm going to set up a Discord server. The Discord server is also going to be open to the public. It's just basically like a giant message board or chat room, okay? But it also has the ability to do some voice chatting, video chatting, different things like that. But I will definitely, when I set up the Discord server, have a private section for just the channel members and Patreon subscribers. But there'll also be a public section too, where I'll definitely pay attention to both. But we'll have some sort of exclusivity for the members. So that is coming soon, guys. Bear with me. I'm trying. I'm not super smart with this technology, but also in the research of the Discord server, I actually stumbled across, and I'll put a link in here right now for anybody that is already involved in Discord. I stumbled across a, they call them servers, called HVAC Talk, and it's just a bunch of HVAC guys. I'm going to post a link right now. If anybody is on Discord, I believe this is an invite link for the HVAC Talk. That is not my Discord server, okay? Mine is not public yet. I will make it known once I am ready, okay? But that link that I just posted is for a cool little message board Discord server, basically, okay? And it's just got a bunch of guys in there that talk about work and help other technicians and homeowners. And I believe they actually have it open to homeowners and, you know, restaurant owners and stuff like that on that Discord server. Again, just to make it clear, I have no affiliation with the Discord server HVAC Talk. I just posted a link to it. I just joined it recently, and it's just a cool little place. So definitely hit that join link, and if you guys are on Discord, and check it out. And I will make my Discord server public soon, okay? Also, you guys see that I've been posting a link to it, or the Streamlabs moderator's been posting a link that I am starting a new YouTube channel. I've actually had it for a very long time. I just decided to start posting. I haven't put any videos on it yet. It's called HVACR Tools. The Streamlabs moderator thing is posting a link to it every once in a while. So appreciate you guys if you'll go over and subscribe to my new channel. I will start posting videos. So on that channel, some of the first videos, and I'll do something on this videos channel too, but on that channel, some of the first videos are going to be the pants. So I've been reviewing a bunch of different brands of work pants, okay? All cargo pants. I've been trying them out for probably about a month and a half now, multiple different pairs. I bought 5 or 6 different of the more popular pairs and wanted to try them out and see what I liked best. And I did come to a conclusion on which ones I do like best. I'm going to be making a video on that. And I've been trying to research the best way to make a video where you're not just staring at my crotch the entire time. So I'll have to figure that one out, but that's going to be an interesting one. Thermal imaging cameras, that's another one that I'm working on right now. I'm actually using a bunch of different thermal imaging cameras. I'm using the FLIR 1 Pro, which is the little one that you plug into the bottom of your phone. I'm using the FLIR C3, and I'm using the Seek Shot Pro. All thermal cameras, they all are similar. A little bit different in price between the 3 of them, but they all have similar sensor stuff and everything. So I'll be doing a video on that, and then I'll definitely start posting more videos to that tools channel soon too, okay? So again, there's nothing on that tools channel as of yet, but I will start posting soon. So, all right, let me see. Oh, okay, just let us watch the videos a day early like everyone else, Chris. That is all you would have to do. Got you, Nathan Peterson. I'll figure something out, man. Yeah, I definitely want to make it figured out. I think I'd like to give you guys something a little bit better than just watching the videos a day early, though. I want to, show my appreciation somehow. So we'll figure this all out. If you guys have ideas on the ways that I can, reward the members and the Patreon supporters, send me an email, hvacreviews@gmail.com. Okay. I'm always looking for suggestions. So, all right, let's see. I want to get back on topic. How do I balance helping the customer versus helping the company on a warranty call? Great question, Storm Huffman. That is an awesome question. All right. You had me muted for a couple minutes and no, I did not answer it yet. So I'm going to get to it right now, Storm. All right. So here's the deal. And to give some context, I work for a lot of chain restaurants, and some of them I kind of mentioned are so big that they go to the manufacturers of the refrigerators that they buy and they demand that I do their warranty work because they don't want the manufacturer's authorized service agency in their restaurants. They only want me, my company. And this isn't just me. They do it with other service companies too. Okay. So in that situation, I am working for the customer. I am not working for the warranty company, but at the same time, I will not lie, I will not cheat, and I will not steal to either party to benefit either party. Okay. I'm going to be completely honest. So I'm at a chain restaurant. I'm working on a refrigerator and I go up to it. It's not working. It's under warranty. I follow all the approved procedures. I call the manufacturer. I get an authorization number, all this stuff. And then I find out that the temperature controller has water damage because the customer was not, cleaning their floors correctly and they shorted out the temperature controller. I am going to be completely honest with the manufacturer. Okay, because here's the thing. Yes, I don't want to piss off my customer, but I'm not going to eat the cost of that temperature controller. All right. So what happens is, as a contractor, when I go to do the warranty work, I go ahead and do it. I order the part. I pay for it all up front. And then I submit a claim and I send the parts back to the manufacturer. And then they decide to void the warranty because it has water damage in it. Then I have to turn around and back bill my customer for the part. It just seems like a lot of unnecessary work, and it's wasted money for me because we could be 90 days down the line, 120 days down the line, and then I have to turn it into my customer. And then my customer starts saying, well, wait a minute, we didn't do this. We didn't damage this. And then it's just a he said, she said, and it turns into a giant email battle. The reason why I say that is because I've gone through it. I've done it. Okay. So I'm completely upfront with the manufacturer. And I'm completely upfront with my customer. When I walk up to the refrigerator, I know what to look for. And if I see water damage, before I even start disassembling things, I go get the customer and I say, look at what I'm seeing right now. I take pictures of it and I'm completely honest with both parties. Okay. That is my best advice for you. Yes, your customer wants you to look out for their best interest, but in the long run, you don't want to screw yourself by pissing off the manufacturer. All right. Because what happens when that customer stops using you and another one of your customers, deals with that manufacturer? Again, you just don't want to piss off the manufacturer and you got to be honest and true to yourself. But that is a great question. Okay. So hopefully I answered that and hopefully that was a good enough answer for you. So, Brian Guzman, have I thought about using the Pro Press fittings instead of brazing? That is a great question too. So Sporlin actually reached out to me today, my contact, and said, hey, that video I just posted where I changed the line set, that would have been the perfect scenario for that, their zoom lock tool. And yes, it would have been the perfect situation for the zoom lock tool. I actually approached my customer because I knew that job was coming and I said, hey, I could use this new tool. And my customer just basically said, nah, they'd rather me just braze it. They're kind of old school. Okay. But I've considered using the Sporlin zoom lock tool. And when the right time comes, I will definitely try it out and I will definitely get it on video. Okay. But yes, I have thought about it. I am old school in that I do, appreciate brazing things, but I also got to stay with the new technologies that are coming out. And the Sporlin zoom lock tool definitely is tried and true, it's proven basically, So I will definitely be using it in the future. I just have to come up in the right scenario. So, all right. Let's see who's battling. Oh, yeah, Michael Bimco's saying ProPress. Yeah, and ProPress, I realized, too, ProPress is for the plumbing side, and then they also have Mega Press for gas lines. I'm definitely interested in all of them. So, let's see. Let me see what I'm missing here. Is it always silver solder that I use? RC1207. So, yes, when I braze copper, I'm using 15% Silphos, okay, for copper to copper. Anytime that I use dissimilar or I have dissimilar metals, I'm using 56% silver solder. I do not use any low temperature solders like StaySilv 8 Not judging anybody that uses those, but I don't. Okay, so I'm either using 56% silver solder or 15% Silphos. That's it. Okay, I definitely want to cover something too, and I wish I would have tagged the person that posted it. Someone had, I was, reading a conversation in my chat, and I just want to clarify things right now. So when we're using silver solder, all right, on dissimilar metals, steel to copper, steel to steel, brass to copper, you need to use silver solder, and you need to use a silver solder flux, okay? Sometimes they make rods that have the flux built in, but you have to use that flux. You need to use the correct flux too, because if you use flux for like the cheap tin solder for plumbing pipes, it's not going to work right, all right? So it has to be like, I, for instance, use like the Stay Silv flux by Harris. That's usually what I use, I believe, for when I'm doing silver solder work. But you do not need to use flux when you're doing 15% Silphos because from my understanding, there's already phosphorus, and the phosphorus acts as a fluxing agent is what I'm told and what I've read. Okay, so you don't need to use that. But your pipe, and I don't care what people say, you have to clean, okay? The solder is not going to clean your pipe for you. I understand some people say that they never clean copper before they braze it, and they use, and they swear up and down you don't have to clean it. You do have to clean copper, okay? You take some sandcloth or some sandpaper, you scrub that thing down, okay? I usually clean 6 inches before, 6 inches after, just in case I run into a problem, and it needs to be sanded up nice and clean. You don't want to touch it with your fingers because the oils from your fingers can make the braze joint basically bad, okay? So you got to make sure that you clean everything up with sandpaper. Then if you're doing a silver bearing solder, like the 56% silver solder, you need to use the proper flux. And yeah, so that's it on my rant on that one. All right, let's see what else. What am I missing here, guys? What am I missing in the chat? Let's see. What are some of my faults that I have found revolving around an iced up cool room? What are some of the faults that I have found revolving around an iced up cool room? Brett from Brisbane. So I'm assuming you're talking about a walk-in cooler. And basically, the majority of the time, if we have an iced up walk-in cooler, it's usually that the temperature controller is not shutting the system off properly for whatever reason. It could be because they've got a door being left open that's bringing heat into the box. It could be also that the unit doesn't have proper defrost. And that is a great thing that I want to cover too. I get this question and comment a lot. Why do you have a defrost clock on a walk-in cooler? People say you don't need a defrost clock on a walk-in cooler. Well, yes, you do. All right. Plain and simple. There's some situations where you might get away with it, but you really should. If you look at the science behind it, your walk-in cooler is typically set for 40 degrees, okay, or usually lower. We usually don't go 40 degrees anymore. In the past, the temperature set point used to be 41, but now we typically set them for anywhere from 35 to 38 degrees is where a walk-in cooler set point is. But when the box temp and when the condensing unit is running and the box temp is at 35 degrees and it's just about to satisfy, that evaporator coil is typically 10 to 15 degrees colder than the air temperature in the box. Therefore, that evaporator coil is below freezing. And oftentimes an off-cycle defrost, so when it satisfies, is not enough to remedy frost or ice buildup on the evaporator coil. So that's why we need to have a defrost clock. Now, excuse me, I got the Coke nose again. With an off-cycle defrost, it's just not enough for most of the time to take care of that extra frost. You definitely need to have the defrost clock. Now, we have mechanical defrost clocks. Those are slowly being phased out, and we're going to like the the electronic temperature controllers, such as like the KE2 Temp Plus defrost controller. We use that on a lot of reach-in coolers and walk-in coolers, and it has a defrost basically clock built into the temperature controller. There's a couple other manufacturers that make them too. Dixel makes a controller that has a defrost built into it, okay? And those are becoming more and more popular. But you definitely need defrost, okay? So very important. Sorry, my nose is going crazy right now. All right, let me see. Did I finish the piping job in the last video? Jeffrey, the only thing I haven't done on that piping job is I haven't put the line set cover on. I believe they were supposed to have the line set cover done today. So then I'll have to probably go back out there this week. Another thing I want to point out, if any of you guys Yes, I will explain the hot gas and electric defrost. Don't let me forget. If any of you guys follow me on social media, you saw that I actually posted something about a iced up walk-in cooler this weekend. And it was that same walk-in cooler that I did the piping job for. And I got to tell you, when I got the phone call that their walk-in cooler was at 50 degrees, my butt puckered. I was thinking that I didn't fix a leak, or I had a leak basically. I was worried that I had a leak. When I arrived at the customer site, I found that the evaporator coil was completely iced up. I was never in my life have I been so happy to see an iced up evaporator coil. I was ecstatic because it meant that I didn't have a leak. I was sweating that one, but and that one ended up being the door's broken, it's not shutting correctly, and the defrost clock was bad. So I ended up temporarily putting in a key to therm, or not temporarily, but I put in a key to therm temp plus defrost controller that had built-in defrost, disconnected the defrost clock on the roof, and then we're giving them a quote to replace the walk-in door. So, good gosh, my nose. Okay, so John Smith Jr., what tool did I use to hook up my purge hose to copper? So, okay, that's a really good question. So I put a link in the video show notes, and I will actually pull that up right now and throw the link in here for you. But I put a link in the video show notes, and actually I don't even need to do that. I've got it right over here. And let me minimize this, and I'll give you that link. If I can find it real quick. Let's see right here. There we go. It's basically made by JB Manufacturing, and it's a little step bit, and it's meant to insert in the pipe and then have a connection for your hose, basically. So let me see. It's right here. You can find it. Here it is right here. You can find it at your local supply house. Anybody that sells JB should have that, but I will go ahead and post a link to it right now for you. Control V, and there you go. That's an Amazon affiliate link. So how do I fix an evaporator that has an ice block? You got to melt the ice first, Andrew, completely. So turn the system off, defrost it however you need to, and then turn the system back on and diagnose why it iced up. Things don't ice up for no reason. So, all right, so let's get to the question of Carlos. I'm going to answer yours real quick. Carlos Cervantes. You said turbo torch or oxyacetylene. Okay, so I do oxyacetylene for my torches. I don't use a turbo torch or a B tank. None of that. I do oxyacetylene brazing. Okay, I know some people use the turbo torch and they love it. I'm old school and I'm stubborn, so I use my oxyacetylene rig. So, all right. So the question about let me see where this is. Petrie Bobalong. I don't know if I said your screen name right, but you said, can I explain hot gas and electric defrost controls? Well, hot gas and electric defrost controls are pretty much the same thing, okay? Typically use a defrost time clock, or you can use an electronic temperature controller that has defrost built into it, okay? But essentially, on a timed basis, you're going to put the system into a defrost so many different times a day, all right? And you're basically going to close a switch, send power to whether it be a valve, a solenoid valve that diverts hot gas through the evaporator, or to a contactor that energizes a set of strip heaters that helps to defrost the coil, okay? Now, on both of those, you're going to have limit switches that help to make sure that the defrost doesn't run too long or get too hot. Each manufacturer is going to have different limit switches. If you're dealing with electric defrost, you're typically going to have a heater safety control that will shut off the heaters if they ever get the system gets too hot. It will typically have a defrost termination switch that if the coil gets so warm, it'll terminate defrost. And then you have a fan delay for when the defrost is done, so you don't blow the condensation that is now built up on the evaporator coil from the melted frost out into the box. Because if you don't have that fan delay, you're going to create icicles all over the ceiling and cause problems, okay? I'd be glad to talk a little bit more about electric defrost or hot gas defrost. If you have more questions, you can simply email me to hvacrvideos@gmail.com, and I'll try to get to them for you guys, okay? Let's see what I'm missing here. Oh, sorry, I got to take a drink. All right. No more apple juice for me right now. All right. Have I seen POE oil clogging a capillary tube? Storm. So that's a very common issue that we had, especially when 134A got super popular in the 90s and 2000s, we had a lot of systems that had capillary tubes. And when they switched over to POE oil, they had, I'm sorry, when they switched over to 134A, we were using POE oil. And what was happening, it's not so much the oil's fault, it's the lack of proper preventative maintenance that's causing the system to overheat and run high condensing temps. It's starting to break down the oil and also contaminants that are in the system, and it's creating kind of like a sludge. And yes, it will plug up capillary tubes. It will cause issues. The biggest thing is you have to be cleaning your equipment. You have to be changing the filters, rinsing the condensers off, and you should never have a problem. So if you have a properly maintained condensing unit with 134A that has a capillary tube, it'll be fine so long as it stays clean, and or so long as the condenser doesn't overheat. Now, it can be clean, but be in a kitchen that's too hot and cause issues too. They typically don't want to see condensing temps on 134A really over, 130 degree condensing temp. I mean, no, you don't even want to see it that much on a cap tube system. You typically don't want to see anything over like 100 degree condensing temp, because typically they make them to operate in a 70 to an 85 degree ambient. So 85, 95, 100, yeah, 105, 110 would be the highest the condensing temp you'd want to see. Anything over that, it starts to break down, and yes, it definitely plugs up the capillary tubes and causes all kinds of problems. Now, can I also tell you that if you have a plugged up capillary tube on 134A, if it's just a slight restriction, you might get away with changing the dryer and changing the cap tube, okay? I don't ever clean cap tubes. I change them. Now, if you're dealing with, for instance, True Manufacturing, they will actually approve you to change the condensing unit if you have a plugged up cap tube. If you just tell them this thing has a severely plugged up cap tube and I'm concerned about the oil, they'll send you out a new condensing unit for that thing. Just got to call and talk to them about it. All right. Your best bet in a perfect world, when you have a plugged up cap tube on 134A because of contaminants, is to replace the oil. That's your best bet. That's the only way you're going to guarantee that you don't have an issue with it again. And put a proper dryer on there. I like the Sporlan 032 Cap T dryers. Those things are my favorite for cleaning up cap tube systems. They do a good job. Those copper spun dryers that come with the True boxes and all the other manufacturers, you throw those copper spun dryers in the trash. They don't do you any good. They're junk. All right. You need to put a proper dryer on there. I prefer the Sporlan Cap T, but there is other manufacturers too. They use the desiccant style dryer cores, and they are awesome. Those copper spun things are just junk. Throw them away. So. All right, let's see what else. Yeah, it is Coke Nose, Joe. Damn, man. See, it's like a twitch. It's starting to itch like crazy. All right, what's my opinion on what Hvacr is doing on the Tradesman Shop Talk channel, changing its format? I think it's great, Greg, but again, for us old school guys, he's not changing the format. He's going back to the format that he always had, So, and he's still going to do the skilled trade up, okay? But it's just going to be, he's going to go back to to his roots, what made his channel, which is the podcast, which is his tech tips. Hvacr does a really good job with that stuff, and I applaud him for making the decision to change things up. It's good for him. Good for him. So, all right, let's see what else. Hey, Bill, how you doing? We were talking about you earlier, Bill. We were talking about your beard getting stuck in an exhaust fan, or your beard catching on fire when you're brazing. Oh no, so there we go. Definitely covered that. Is it possible to have an RTU heat exchanger leak without visible damage? Mohammed, I'm not an expert with heat exchangers, but I would say that I do know that heat exchangers, it's possible to have like micro cracks in heat exchangers that aren't very big, but they only get big when it heats up. There's definitely a possibility that you can have cracks. I'd probably need some more context to your question, so feel free to send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com, okay? Let's see. Yeah, definitely. All right. Let's see what I'm missing here. Oh, Ernesto, HVACR vlogger. Yeah, Hvacr's fine, man. He's just changing things up, man. He just wanted to change and wanted to go back to his roots of his channel. He's still doing everything normal. He's just not going to be, doing the skilled trade up as much, is my understanding. But again, Hvacr doesn't report to me. I've just heard and talked to him a little bit, and he basically just says that he's just changing things and kind of going back to the roots, which really is his podcasting and his YouTube videos. For those of you guys that don't know, Hvacr is like an OG YouTuber. I mean, he's one of the first, him, Ralph. I'm trying to think of the other ones right now. Gosh darn it, I can't. Dr. Zarkloff, Dr. Zarkloff. You know, I mean, those guys are like the OG YouTubers, and that's where they started, and they just kind of all went their different ways. You know, Ralph started working as a trainer, TSA or whatever you want to call it, you know, and so he's not really in the field as much to make videos, and, you know, things change and people get burnt out. Hell, I'm getting burnt out, you know, I mean, my most popular videos and the videos that you guys love the most, that get the most views and the most interaction, is walk-in cooler videos. You guys, I make so many walk-in cooler videos. Sometimes I just want to make a video on a reach-in cooler, but they don't seem to get as much attention and people don't like them as much. So, you know, you do get burnt out when you're making this stuff. And I mean, like, for instance, and I just try to change things up, but for instance, I was talking to my wife this weekend and I want to change my whole office again. I mean, how many times have I changed my office around, all this stuff behind me, but I want to change it up just because it's been here for a year and it's like, man, I need change. You know, when you come in here every Monday and you sit behind this and you see this, you know, crap behind me, it's like, man, I want to change it up. So sometimes we just need change. So, but there's nothing wrong with Zach. He's fine. So, all right, let's see. Yes, Jim P is an OG of refrigeration. And I wish Jim was making videos, you know, and I've said this before. Jim Pettinato is his name. He made great YouTube videos, and he reminds me a lot of my dad. He had old school mentality. And guys, you know, he makes mistakes. You know, sometimes he cuts corners or does things that, and people would just blow him up on his comments and different things like that. And just because he doesn't follow all the proper refrigeration practices doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing. All right. Same thing with my dad. He taught me a lot of old school stuff and I didn't quite agree with it, but I was respectful, and there was knowledge to gain from what he taught me. And the same thing that what Jim in his videos. I mean, there was truth in the things that he said, and just because he didn't follow this perfect procedure doesn't mean that he was wrong. And if you guys haven't already, go search Jim Pettinato on YouTube. He has awesome videos. He doesn't create new content anymore, but he has lots of content on there. So definitely a cool dude. All right, let's see what else. Fritz. Fritz still makes videos, I think. I don't know. I don't subscribe to Fritz's channel, but I used to watch his stuff. So you need reach-in videos. Well, right on, dude. I'll try to put some more reach-in videos up. So, all right. Let me see what I'm missing here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my list right here. I got a bunch of stuff on here that I want to cover. Oh, very important, guys. And I'd really appreciate it if you guys would do this. Remember, when I make videos, I work in restaurants. I know those of you that work in the restaurants can probably guess where I'm working. Please don't, okay? I delete comments when people put restaurant names, even if they're wrong. That's one thing I don't censor people's comments. If someone wants to come and start talking crap to me and calling names and whatever, I don't care. I'll leave those in there. But the one thing I do delete from my channel is when people guess restaurant names. I don't like to give restaurants bad publicity. I don't want people to think that they're horrible places. Guys, I don't work in nasty restaurants. What a lot of people in this industry think is nasty, or outsiders, when they watch my videos, they think, oh my gosh, that's the worst, most disgusting. Guys, that's not even it. If you see something what you think is nasty in my videos, it's truly not, because the stuff that's out there is horrible, okay? But it's not necessarily in my videos. So but yeah, when people try to guess restaurant names, I delete them instantly, okay? So please don't, all right? Because I do want to leave your guys' comments and I want to interact with you, but there's nothing worse than someone asking me a really good question and then they say, oh yeah, I think you were working at Denny's, okay? I don't work at Denny's, by the way, but I delete the whole comment because I just don't want restaurant names in the chat, period. Okay, so I try to keep those out, and I'd appreciate it if you guys can. And I'm not mad. I mean, I understand. I used to do it too, but I just try to protect customers, keep restaurant names out of it, period. So, all right. How do I set the timer on a mechanical clock on a freezer? Eric Goldhammer asked me. Here, it all depends on your climate, okay? So we don't have humidity here. We don't know what humidity is. So on a walk-in freezer, my standard go-to is 4 defrosts a day for 28 minute with a 28-minute fail-safe time, basically, okay? And then the defrost termination switch will usually cut out before the fail-safe time. So 4 defrosts a day for 28 minutes. That's my standard go-to for a walk-in freezer, and that usually does the trick. Now, there's certain situations where you run into all kinds of weird stuff. You got to change things up, and you got to make decisions on the fly. On walk-in coolers, you certainly can't have a 30-minute defrost, all right? On a walk-in freezer, the temps won't come up enough. It'll be fine. But on a walk-in cooler, because it's air defrosted typically, you can't have that thing being shut off for 30 minutes. Walk-in coolers, I typically won't set the defrost past 15-minute increments typically. And then sometimes like in the middle of the night at like 2 in the morning when nobody's in the building, I might do an hour-long defrost on the walk-in cooler because I'm assuming the doors are shut and it's not going to bring the box temp or the product temp up high enough. But during the day on a walk-in cooler, typically don't want to go past 15 minutes. So, all right, let's see what else I'm missing. All right, remember McDowell's. Yeah. Yeah, I work at McDowell's where and it has the Jerry curl place right next to it. Yeah, I work at that place often. Hey, that's a great idea. See, I already... Yeah, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Okay, I'm not going to go there. Yeah, good one. All right. Let's see what else. Why are my questions disappearing when you post them? HVAC kid, I have no idea, bud. I don't know why your questions would be disappearing. I mean, are they scrolling past on the screen? I don't know. Oh, your question's not disappearing right now, bud. So if I missed your question, throw it in again. I'll definitely try to get to it. So let me see. I haven't seen them. Yeah, try with... No, it should be fine. All right. All right, I'm going to go to my list right here. Let's see what I'm missing. Oh, great question. David had asked me a question in my comments, and David's studying for the trade. He's not involved in it yet, but he's just very interested in it, and he noticed something in my videos, and he was kind of curious because in every HVAC book that he's read, it discusses that when you're changing a liquid line or a suction line filter dryer, that you should cut the dryers out of the system, that you should not unsweat them, okay? And that is a really good point. It is recommended that if you're working on a system and you're changing the dryer, that you don't unbraze or sweat the dryer out. The reasoning behind that is that you're going to potentially release moisture into the system, okay? I try if I can, but majority of the time I'm in a tight situation and you just got to change the dryer. So you got to unbraze it. A lot of times there's not room to cut them because of clearances and different things like that. It's one thing if you had a nice big open area. So again, that's one of the things. I'm not perfect. I'd probably say out of the 100 dryers that I've changed, I probably cut 3 or 4 of them out. Most of the time I'm just unsweating them because all the stuff that I'm working on is tiny stuff and you don't got room to cut it out. Same thing with like R290 systems. You know, they say best practices is to cut everything out. Well, if you're working on a little reach-in cooler, R290 cooler, if those of you that have done it, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know, that compressor's super tight. There's no room to put a straight coupling on the system. You know, everything's all pre-bent and nice and tight that you got to unsweat everything. So, you know, just do your best with what you have. But that is a great question, and there is merit to that question. You definitely should cut everything out of the system that you can, but, you know, you got to be practical too. Sometimes it's just, you just can't, okay? So, do I ever come across work that has to be union employed to perform in California, Mr. Ice? Yes, good question. So if you're going to do any work on state, basically, if it's a government-run facility, if it's a anything that receives government funds, for the most part, it's pretty safe to say that it has to be union work. Now, there is it has to be union workers that does the work. Now, there is kind of a little workaround on that, in that you can do what we call prevailing wages, and that's basically where you pay your employees union rates, all right, when you're not a union company. There's a lot of hoops you have to jump through, as you know, you would expect, because the union is not very strong in California, but there is a union. Okay, there's a couple different ones. It's just not something that's super strong. So obviously they want to keep union work to themselves, but to be fair, they have to give other people opportunities. So I can bid against a union company, but the hoops that I have to jump through are so crazy that I don't even get involved in it. So I've never done prevailing wage work. I will not ever work in a school district or for a school district as a contractor. It's just, I will not work for any government jobs just because I don't want to have to deal with the red tape or the paperwork. I'm going to make it completely clear too. I have absolutely no problem with a union. There's nothing wrong with it. I would encourage it. You know, when people ask me union or non-union, it's whatever's best for your family. Okay. Even as a contractor, I don't have a problem with the union. I mean, it is what it is. You know, you got to do what you can do for you and your own, and, you know, do your best. So I don't have a problem with the union at all. So, All right, let's see if I'm missing anything. Do I work on any large rack systems? No, Anthony, I don't. I work on light commercial refrigeration. So compressors typically are 3 horsepower and smaller. Air conditioners are usually 35 tons and smaller. I just work on the small racks, none of the big supermarket stuff. There's a couple different YouTube channels that have supermarket refrigeration stuff. My buddy Ruben was in here earlier. I don't know if he's still in here. His YouTube channel is called Rookie Refrigeration. He does some supermarket work. And there's a couple other guys too. I don't know the names of them, but there's a guy down in Palm Springs that does supermarket work. He makes some really cool videos too. So if anybody's interested and they can't find the supermarket videos on YouTube themselves, just send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com and I'll try to share the links to the YouTube channels that I know of that does supermarket work. So definitely try to get to that. All right. Oh, there you go, Ruben. Right on. Ruben's in here right now. So check. Yeah, he's click on his name right there and you guys can sub to his channel. He does some supermarket stuff. So, all right, let me see what I got on my list that I'm missing. I covered that. Oh, this is kind of funny. And, you know, it is what it is. But for those of you that aren't in the whole YouTube live streaming thing, YouTube is changing a bunch of stuff right now. They've got a bunch of different restrictions because the federal government's getting involved. I get it. Child protective stuff and all those different things. So I did a bonus live stream about a week ago on a Saturday, just a random live stream where I let people come in to ask me questions. And again, I will do this again and I have no problem. Okay. But I just thought it was funny that I don't make any money on these live stream videos anyways. Most of the time the live streams, they get like 2,000 views and that's it. And for those that don't know, that's not even enough to make any money or anything like that. But YouTube demonetized my video because I had a kid in my video. Again, I'm not mad at him. I don't know if you're in here watching. There's nothing wrong with it. It's all good. I just thought it was interesting that I can't have any children. And there was nothing bad that was said. I didn't show anything bad, but they demonetized the video and then I requested a review. And when they reviewed it, they said, nope, it has content that's not safe for advertisers, basically. And the only content that I had in that video was that there was a 13-year-old kid or something like that was asking me some questions. So it's kind of silly, I think, because I want 13-year-old kid to ask me a question. I want a high school 16-year-old or whatever to ask me questions, because if I can get someone interested in the trade, it's only going to help me and all of you guys more to get young blood in this trade. So I do think that's kind of silly that they're doing that. But you also got to look at it as YouTube's got to watch out for themselves, and basically the government's coming down on them with lawsuits. But I just thought that was interesting that they demonetized that video. So let's see. Yeah, middle school. Yeah, you were, Greg. I remember that. So let's see. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's see. Right on, HVAC rookie. All right. Wait, so I can't adopt kids to work for me? Nope, and you can't have them in your videos. You can have them, sure, if you want to become that person. But, all right. Dude, they're computer algorithms, HVAC with Greg. It just must look for children. I don't know, dude. Because there wasn't even, like, I don't even say bad words in my videos, you know? Like, they're computer algorithms, figure everything out. All right, I'm going to go through my list. Question, this is just something that came up a bunch inside my videos. Guys, in the show notes of my videos, when I release them, there's usually, I try to predict what people are going to ask me, and there's links to all the tools for the most part for the items. All right. And I usually tell things, but for instance, one of the questions that I got the most, and it's a valid question, is what size tip do I use on my torch? I use a number 2 tip. Okay. I use the only 2 tips that I have in my oxyacetylene rig are a number 2 tip and a rosebud tip. Sometimes I probably should have used the rosebud because there was a lot of 7/8 brazing I was doing, but for whatever reason, I used the number 2 tip. I oftentimes, when I'm brazing 1/4 inch, I'll use that number 2 tip too. And a lot of people say, oh my gosh, that's getting too hot. Well, it is what it is. I'm lazy and I don't want to change my tip over. So I always braze with the number 2 tip or rosebud. So, all right, let me see what else. Frank, I don't know what your question was, Frank. Can you post it again? I don't know. You said any advice. I don't see it. Post it again and I'll definitely, HVAC kid, good, man. We need people in this trade. So you're 15 years old. That's awesome. You can definitely probably get a job I don't know if people are going to hire you under 18 because there's a lot of liability involved in our trade and it's considered dangerous. But for sure, when you turn 18, man, start going to trade school. You know, you can probably get involved in local community colleges or something like that and get your education done now. So that way you can jump right into the industry. You'll go far, man, if you're interested. So how does electric solenoid valve work? Well, Andrew, there's a couple different types of electric solenoid valves. I would highly, highly encourage you to go over to the Sporlin YouTube channel. And Sporlin has, it's youtube.com/Sporlin video is the channel. They have explanations on the solenoid valves, okay? Essentially, there's an electric coil and there's it pulls a plunger up and allows refrigerant to flow through the system. But there is some more technical aspects to the different types of solenoid valves and what kind of pressures help them to actuate. I would highly suggest checking out Sporlin's channel for that, okay? They will definitely have a much better video than I could ever possibly have to explain that for you. Sporlin video. And I'm going to post a link for you right now. So, let me see. So youtube.com/Sporlin video. And I'll just go ahead and post that link here. Control C. And let me see. There you go right there. Here you go. Control V. There you go. Definitely check that out. All right. Let's get to 150 likes and 250 viewers. Let's do it, man. Share the heck out of this. Let's keep this going, man. Let's see how many viewers we can get up to. All right. I got a couple other things I want to cover on here. So, I covered that. Oh, that's another really good thing too. You guys, and I've said this before when I'm making my videos, you know, there's a lot of things that I forget to do. Sometimes and I appreciate people pointing things out because I honestly don't think about it. All right. Someone pointed out in one of my videos, like, hey, I shouldn't be brazing with my rubber gloves on. I have brazed with my rubber gloves for years. And it's a really good point. I really shouldn't be brazing with my rubber gloves on. That's something that I need to be better at thinking about those kind of things. You know, I try to preach how I want to be careful and predict the worst, but I've never really put two and two together to think that I shouldn't be brazing with some rubber gloves. Very dangerous because the rubber gloves can melt and they're going to melt to your hand and it's going to become a problem. Okay. Sure. If you didn't have the gloves on, it's not going to protect. They're not going to protect you. You know, the only gloves that potentially would help you would be some leather gloves, but I don't know about you. I can't work with leather gloves. So I'd rather just work with my bare hands and just be careful. But definitely I make mistakes on that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of feedback that I really appreciate, guys. I have no problem with people giving me criticism. Do it. Send it my way. So let me see. I covered that. Yeah, I covered this too. So I'm going to get to the chat and see what other questions we got going on in here. Okay. What else do we got? JTH, took your grandson, graduated from high school early, so you took him to HVACR trade school. He got a tech job at 18, was running a truck. Hey, that's great, man. This is a great trade. I think that too many people are afraid of the HVACR trade, and they think that it's just rough, nasty work. You could make very good money if you work it right. If you continue to educate yourself and continue to strive for better and greatness, you know, the sky is the limit. There's all kinds of different aspects of this trade, and I definitely think it's something that everybody should encourage their children to get involved in. I mean, even if you have girls, I mean, I've seen more and more women technicians lately in the last year than I have my entire career, and I think it's great. You know, I think it's all good. Ernesto, HVACR vlogger, do I let my guys do side jobs? The short answer is no. All right. What they do on their personal time, I can't really control. All right. But they better not use my vehicle. They better not use my tools. They better not use my likeness. They better not show up in my work shirt. What I mean by my likeness is, say, for instance, that one of my technicians wants to go work on an air conditioner at one of our restaurant managers' houses. Not okay, period. Because if they make a mistake or something bad happens, that restaurant manager is going to blame me for it. So, you know, again, what my technician wants to go help their mom or their grandma, you know, I got no problem with that. I can't control it. But if they want to do side jobs or help out my customers, heck no. And especially trying to compete with my work, if they're doing side work and they're doing restaurant stuff, that's not going to happen, okay? But my tools, my van, oh, hell no. I'm not insured for that. That kind of stuff is not cool and it's not good. But again, I mean, what they do on their personal time in their own vehicle with their own tools, I can't control. But, you know, I would have a hard time, though, if I found out that one of my techs was doing side work, like fixing someone's air conditioner at one of my restaurant owners' houses or restaurant managers' houses. That is a problem, because it's just a gray area that can lead to all kinds of problems. In general, I would expect technicians to understand that one. That's pretty common sense. You know, you don't want to mess with that kind of stuff, because that's your livelihood. If he pisses off that restaurant manager, then that restaurant manager doesn't want him in his restaurants anymore. I mean, it's just a gray area that you really shouldn't get involved in. So can I explain what happens when you put 134 in an R290 system? Saw my Facebook post. Adam, I'm going to release a video. I've got a huge video that I'm editing out. So that will be coming soon. Keep an eye out, and I will share what happened. I do have to say, I was very surprised by the results. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. So, all right, let's see. Can I explain why RTUs don't have starters on 3-phase motors? Is it a cost? Oh, Brad Taylor. Yeah, that's a real common thing. I noticed that a lot, that 3-phase motors and compressors and different things like that don't have motor starters. Honestly, I don't know the answer to that one. I would imagine that it's just a cost thing. Some RTUs do. Some of the bigger ones will have an actual thermal, you know, motor starter or whatever. But a lot of times compressors have thermal protection inside of them, so it's not necessarily needed on a compressor. Some motors are also thermally protected too, but it's very common, especially on 3-phase blower motors and things like that. You need to read the data, because it might just be thermally protected internally. So yeah, it's hard to say exactly why they don't do it. I imagine some of it would be cost, but like I said, some of them may be thermally protected internally. So let's see what I'm missing here. Yeah, HVAC kit answered that one. Okay, so Lorenzo, you used to have a coworker who would take service truck to run calls in the same new neighborhood where he would. Yeah, that's no bueno, man. Yeah, that's not cool. Can I explain what? Oh, I already talked about that one. All right. Who the hell wants to do side work? I personally don't want to do side work. You guys, I have most of my family members convinced that I don't know how to work, nor am I qualified to work on residential equipment. So you and I both know I could work on it all day long, but I don't want to. You know, I don't mind helping my mom out for sure. I don't mind helping a friend out. You know, I just want to be able to help people on my terms. So the way that I've always done side work or helping out a friend is I've always told them, like, hey, look, you know, they ask me, can you help me install a new air conditioner in my house? First off, I'm not going to do it for free. Okay. Unless it's my mom. And I'm not going to give you like a giant discount. I'm going to make money on this. Now I might help you a little bit, but they have to wait for me, and my work and the service company comes first. So, you know, it may be months before I can get to helping them. I have no problem. What I usually tell them is look, I won't be able to help you for months. Okay. Till we get to the slow season. If you need an air conditioner now in the middle of the summer, I suggest you call someone. And then I'll tell them, hey, once you call them, get a quote and then give me a call, and I'll tell you if it's a fair quote, you know, and then encourage them to get a second quote and that kind of stuff. Okay. But yeah, I really prefer not to do side work, to be honest with you. So let me see. What would I recommend someone that wants to start making YouTube videos? Joe. I have a video, Joe, that talks about my, I think it's called HVACR Video Studio Tour, and it talks about like the softwares and different things that I do. You can easily look it up on my channel. Let me see if I can find it. HVACR Videos Studio Tour. Let's type this in real quick and see if it comes up. There it is right there. And let me open this up real quick. Let me turn this off, and let me find the share link. And it's, I mean, my office, I might have changed a few things, but for the most part, I'll post a link right now. For the most part, you can copy this video link. This will show all the equipment that I use to make my videos. Now, granted, for people that want to start making videos, you don't necessarily have to go crazy like I did, buying computers and mixing boards and fancy microphones. I bought all that stuff. Actually, to be honest with you, I bought most of the stuff that I have in this office before I even knew this channel was going to do what it was, because it was just my hobby and it was fun. And usually when I get involved in things, I go way in before. So I kind of benefited that this became a thing, because I was way invested in all this equipment. But anyways, you don't need all this fancy stuff. You know, I know of people that are making videos on their phone, editing them on their phone, and posting them from their phone. So with technology today, you can certainly do it. Be ready for the criticism. Criticism's a huge thing. If you're going to put something out there on the internet, you just have to understand that the trolls will come out. Sometimes it's justified because some people that aren't making videos anymore that were on YouTube were making some crazy bad stuff, and it created a bunch of problems. So you got to be very careful. Currently to this day, there's a couple YouTubers that make some videos that are very questionable. Nobody within my circle that you guys probably watch, but there's, again, I got to keep my mouth shut because I don't want to throw people under the bus, but there's this one channel in particular that's really bad. And I kind of get infuriated when I watch it. I'm not subscribed to it just because I don't want to give the dude the satisfaction, but there's some people that make some horrible videos. What are my tips on aligning pumps and motor housings? dhard01. Honestly, I would not be the person to answer that question. I don't work on any of the big stuff that you have to align to work on. I don't work on any open drive stuff or direct drive. So I really don't know much about lining them up. Okay. Joe, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate that super chat. For anybody that's super chatted, thank you. I know I probably missed a few of them, but you guys, it really does help, but it's not expected. Okay. Thank you guys. Let's see what else. Pro C, you're 17 and you're starting an apprenticeship in the spring. Good for you, bud. 4-year apprenticeship. Then you have to stay with your company for 2 years. Awesome, man. That's good money, right? Imagine. So you're saying in 4 years, yeah, that's awesome, dude. In 6 to 7 years, yeah, that's good money to be made, man. You can make a great living in this career. So good for you, and I wish you the best. So, all right, you're going to transfer into the computer, but once you get a good one. So yeah, right, Ruben. You know, I'm not really good with the whole computer stuff, guys. What I ended up doing, again, before I even knew what I was gonna do, was I had some extra money lying around, not lying around like I had this all. But I had some extra money, and I just went to Dell and bought, you know, the biggest computer I could afford, assuming that it was going to be all right for me. Again, I wasn't super smart, and it does everything that I need it to do. It is super powerful, I think. I don't know. I typically don't have any problems with it, but yeah, depending on, you know, what kind of videos you want to put out. I probably have a little bit too much of a computer, and I use some software that I probably don't need to use when you look at the quality of my videos, because my videos really aren't too complex. So, all right. Let's see, guys, throw some more questions in here. I'll get to them. If you could, please put your questions in caps lock. We'll definitely check them out, okay? Let's see. And again, I'm going to cover some things that I started in the beginning of the stream just to get the new people that came in, okay? So for the people that, again, I don't expect this, but for the people that have been supporting me on Patreon and Discord, I'm sorry, Patreon and then the YouTube memberships, I'm going to be starting a private Discord server for you guys that will be coming soon, where you guys can come on there and ask questions and maybe have some time to have one-on-one video conversations. I am working on a Discord server. I will also make a public Discord server too on the same one. So we'll just have a private room for members and different things. Okay. And maybe we'll figure out a way to schedule some time when you guys can ask me questions, or we can go do live or something like that. So I do definitely want to try to help you guys out and show my appreciation for becoming members and or Patreon supporters. But then for those of you that aren't, it's all good. I'm going to have, you know, a public area of that Discord server too. So that will be coming soon. What else did I talk about? I talked about Sporlin, their YouTube channel, Sporlin, it's youtube.com/Sporlin video. They have a supermarket series where they're talking about all kinds of different components that are like things I've never even heard of. Okay. But it's really intoxicating watching their videos and listening to the streams. Okay. Sporlin also does webinars where they'll release links where you can listen to them live and you can ask questions live too. They do a really good job of talking about the different components in the system. So definitely check out and subscribe to Sporlin's YouTube channel. Okay. The other things that I started in the beginning of the stream, for those of you that came in late, next time you guys come in, I'll try to do this a little bit more often, but it's not going to happen all the time. But I did do like a prize for the movie quote winner. So I put a movie quote inside the stream like I usually do. And then I said the first person to send me an email, I've already gotten a bunch of emails from it, but the first person that sent me an email and they already guessed it right too, I'm going to send them a prize. So I'm going to try to do that a little bit more as, you know, time goes on. So I always plug my buddy Ralph, and I'm going to go ahead and plug him real quick. My buddy Ralph from Honeywell Refrigerants. He's always usually in here answering questions. I'm going to go ahead and put his email in here. If any of you guys have any questions about R22 alternatives or anything like that, definitely send Ralph an email. He's always willing to help out. Also working, just kind of some updates. Also working with, I forgot to bring this up too. So my moderator, Streamlabs OBS thing, is posting a link inside the chat, and it should still be posting it. I'm starting a new YouTube channel for those of you that just came in. It's called HVACR Tools. There should be a link in the chat from the moderator thing. I don't have any videos up there yet, but I'm going to be reviewing tools. It's going to be a little different than most tool review videos. At this time, I'm not taking free content. I'm not taking free tools. I'm purchasing everything. I may change that later, but at this time right now, everything I'm purchasing myself and just talking about the tools that I want to talk about. So that'll be coming soon too. So if you guys check that link out and subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it. And let's see what other questions. HVAC Rookie. You have an amazing question. Do I recommend RSES? Okay, RSES stands for Refrigeration Service Engineers Society. Think of it as kind of like a fraternal brotherhood, but it's men and women, and it's an educational resource. Okay, you can check RSES at rses.org. Okay, they have local chapters all across the United States. I will say they are not as big as they used to be, but it is still a great resource for training and education. I am part of my local RSES chapter. It's called the Arrowhead chapter here in San Bernardino, California. There is another active chapter, the Long Beach chapter and the Los Angeles chapter. They actually meet together in Downey. My local RSES chapter does meetings the second Tuesday of every month, and I believe the Downey meetings go on, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think they're the second Thursday of every month, I think. RSES is a training provider. They are a membership service, basically. So you do sign up and pay a membership fee. It's a very nominal fee for the amount of information you get. But I will also say that as far as the meetings go, you do not have to be a member to attend the RSES meetings. Okay, so the local meetings, like for instance, our meetings the second Tuesday of every month, you don't got to be a member. If you come to my Arrowhead chapter here in San Bernardino, California, second Tuesday of every month, sometimes I'm there, sometimes I'm not. Second Tuesday would actually be tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to make it to that meeting or not, but we give you free food. We usually order pizza. You don't have to pay anything. All right. You can come and get educated. We have all kinds of different speakers. So my local chapter tomorrow is having an air quality training class. Basically, they're going to have I believe a representative from Machado Environmental. I believe they're a duct cleaning company. They're going to have a representative from there come out and talk. And that's what we're going to have. So we have these free training classes, okay? But again, that's just my local chapter. There's RSES chapters all over the place. Some of them are active, some of them are not. But I do have to say, as far as the membership fee goes, it's not that much. It's less than $200, I think, a year or something like that. But just being able to access the online materials, the SAM manuals alone is worth that less than $200 a year. I think it's less than $200. It's really not that much, but it's a great resource. So any educational resource is better than none. Okay. Now I also challenge you guys, if any of you guys, like for instance, I have a NATE certification. All right. And I've said this before, I have a NATE light commercial refrigeration, NATE air conditioning, NATE heat pump, all that fancy stuff. Right. And I'm not bragging, but every single one of those NATE tests I passed without studying. I just went and took the test and I passed them. I have taken the RSES CM exam 2 times and I failed it both times. I challenge you guys, if any of you can pass the CM exam, you know your shit. Good for you. And if you already have your CM, you guys know what I'm talking about. The CM test is one heck of a test, man. If you guys can pass that, that is the pinnacle of certifications. If you can have your CM certification for sure. So, all right, done on my RSES rant. Yes, I think RSES is a good thing. I guess that's the short answer. So, what do I do with the old AC motors? I throw them in the trash, Daniel. Do I ever work on Evapco cooling towers? No, I really don't get into that kind of stuff, Greg. Not really the big stuff. Matt Gordon, you said pizza. I am down. Yeah, if you're in the local area, second Tuesday of every month, free pizza. Come to an RSES training class that usually lasts about 2.5 hours. So, Mr. Ice, that depends. Okay, so I'm reading through these comments. Let's see what else we got. I don't think I see any more questions, you guys. What do I do with the AC? Oh, yeah, Daniel, I just throw them out, bud. Best way to finish the day watching Chris live. Thank you very much, Ernesto. I appreciate that, bud. Shout out on my next video. Who wants to send me your first sticker? Oh, got you. Shoot. Where's, if you got stickers, I know Bill's is doing sticker swaps too. You're 6 magazines behind in your reading. Oh, that's the other thing too, is the RSCS membership. You get a cool magazine in the mail too. That's a really cool little thing. Do I recommend getting my master's in HVACR? You have a journeyman's HVACR. Anthony, if it'll help you succeed, I suggest getting any certifications or degrees you can. Degrees are great because it gives you something to fall back on. So if you got the time, I say go for it, man, for sure. What do I do with the okay, I already answered that one. How do I heat up receivers? Anthony Lovato, you use a heat producing device. You need to be very careful that that heat producing device does not exceed the safe temperature of that receiver. The receiver will typically have a temperature at which it blows out a soft plug and vents the charge. You need to know where that soft plug is. So whatever device you're going to use to heat up that receiver, you need to be very careful. But the point in heating up a receiver is potentially to find the liquid level. You got to be very careful. I'm not going to tell you what device to use. I'm just going to say that if you use something, you need to make sure that it doesn't exceed the soft plug temperature of that receiver. And you got to be very careful. So how about how long do we think it'll be until my Discord server is ready? Greg, honestly, I don't know, man. There's a bunch of people willing to help me. My brother wants to help me, a bunch of people. So we'll get it set up. We'll start working on it. I just found it like last week. So, yeah, rookie refrigeration. Yeah. You don't have a sticker. Oh, well, Ruben, take a piece of tape and write rookie refrigeration on it and send it to Bill. And then I'm sure he'll send you one of his cool Curious HVAC guy stickers. In fact, look at this. I got a couple of Bill's stickers right here. Look at that. Bam. And actually, shameless plug, there's Bill's sticker right there on that board right below the smoke detector. It's been there for about a month now. So, not all places have a hot hose. What other items have I used? Brett. Yeah, I'll use a cold hose if I have to. I prefer to use hot water, but if you don't have hot water, just, whatever temperature, the cold water will work fine. 70 degrees is typical water temperature here in Southern California. It'll do it. It just takes a few more minutes, but anything's better than that. I don't prefer to use like a map gas or a torch to melt ice. I don't know. I don't see it to be as effective as using water. I find, in my opinion, that water works the best, but you got to be careful not to make a mess. So, of course, if you can let something air defrost, then sure. But can I post my links on my Discord link? I can post Eric Goldhammer. What I can do is I can post my my screen name on Discord. My channel's not made yet, but I can post my screen name. And then you can easily friend request me then. So here, let's see if I can find my profile. No, that's not it. Let me see. Update ready again. This is why I'm not super smart on this Discord thing. So let me find my name. How do I find my name? See, I'm like, this is why I need someone to set this whole Discord thing up for me. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's HVACR videos, pound something, something, something or other. Help. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, I'm not super smart with the Discord thing, guys. Good gosh. How do I find this? Add friend. There's my friends. I see that. Gosh darn it. How do I figure this whole Discord thing out? I'm so confused. Copied. Oh, wait, maybe that's it. Maybe I just copied it. Let me paste. Control V. Yeah, there we go. There you go. See? HVAC with Greg knows it. There's my Discord name. So you can friend request me. I'll definitely hit the friend thing, and then you'll see when my server gets popped up. So definitely do that. All right, let's see what else we got. Can I send an email link to the new channel you are promoting? Yeah, Brett. The new channel I am promoting. Let me see. The Nightbot should be posting it, but let me pull it up right now. Anybody else have any more questions? hvacrvideos@gmail.com. And let me go to my timers right now and pull up this here's my link for my new YouTube channel right now. Control V. There you go. That's my new YouTube channel. So you guys can certainly please go subscribe to that. Again, there's no videos yet, but I will start uploading them soon. So let's see what else. Am I going to Florida in January? Eric Goldhammer, yes. So I will be at the AHR show in Orlando. All right. I will be there all 3 days. In fact, I'll be there even before that because my buddy Brian Orr at HVAC school is going to be having a seminar at his office in Florida Friday and Saturday before AHR. And I will be a speaker at the Saturday session of his training seminar. So I will be at the AHR show basically from Wednesday to Wednesday. I'll be there for almost a week, but I'm also taking some family time too. I'm taking my family out there. But yes, I will be at the trade show. I will be at the Sporlan booth 2 to 3 hours a day, probably Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday, I don't know if I'm going to be, I might be just walking around on Wednesday. And then I'll be, well, I'm sure that there's going to be other YouTubers there and stuff like that. Maybe we'll do a meetup or something like that, but I'll be walking the show for sure. So I will be there. I'll be happy to meet any of you guys. If any of you happens to see me, definitely stop me and shake my hand for sure. So what's the black box on my top shelf? That's a great question. So that black box is a hermetic compressor analyzer. And what it does is it has multiple capacitors in it, and it allows you to start compressors that need starting components, basically. It'll also allow you to start a 3-phase compressor and try to reverse the rotation by flipping a switch rather than unplugging and replugging the compressor in. So that box up there basically allows you to select a start capacitance for your compressor, whatever it requires, and it has capacitors built into it, and it allows you to start it. So let's say, for instance, you had bad starting components on a compressor, or you were curious if they were bad. Again, that's an older tool. We can definitely, it's still a valuable tool, but we can also do without it nowadays. But basically you were capable of hooking that up to a compressor and simulating new starting components to see if it would start. Nowadays, we have the ability to have our meters basically that read microfarads, and so you can quickly test a start capacitor. And then also I keep the little 3-in-1 capacitors for like reach-in coolers and things like that in my truck, and I don't leave those in the system, but I'll use them to try to start a compressor to see if we can get it running basically. So I don't carry that, but that analyzer, it's called a hermetic compressor analyzer, and it still works. It's still a great tool. I just don't happen to use it anymore. And then the little green box next to it is an ANI too, and that's another type of hermetic compressor analyzer. That the little green one next to it is the older one. So let's see what else. Attempting to go for a license, always thought class was residential and B was commercial. What's the difference between A environmental and A commercial for B? George, honestly, I don't know how to answer that question, man. The licenses are going to be different in the states that you're in, so I don't know the answer to that one, bud. Do I work on many variable frequency drives? If so, will I do a video on it? I've talked about VFDs a few times, not in like great detail, but yes, I do work on systems that have VFDs. I'm not a very super smart person when it comes to them, but I will say my biggest problem with VFDs is that they're typically installed in crappy locations when it comes to air conditioning units and different things like that. I do have a couple videos, I believe. I don't know what the title of it is. It's one where it's a Carrier AC. If you just search Carrier in my YouTube channel, you'll come up on a couple videos, different videos on Carrier units. And I talk about the VFDs and how they're installed in a crappy location in that AC, and it causes all kinds of issues. So let's see if I'm missing anything. Interested in what defrost termination temp we are using for walk-in freezers and reach-in freezers. Defrost termination temp, I think, again, this is off the top of my head, but I think it's like 50 degrees, 55 degrees, I think. And then fan delay temperatures, I think, are about 20 degrees. So the fan will typically turn on at about 20, I think, coil temperature. And then I think the defrost termination is about 55 degrees coil temperature. But again, those are off the top of my head, so don't quote me on that. S-Man 480 or JobLink probes if you already have basic gauges and can't afford both probes and 460. Go with the JobLink probes. if you don't have a choice of doing both, I say go with the job link probes. All right, there's benefits to both of them, but you can charge with the job link probes if you buy a charging adapter. So the job link probes are basically the new wave. And I actually just did some videos with Fieldpiece. So keep an eye out on the Fieldpiece YouTube channel, and I believe they're going to start releasing some videos where I went out there and basically act as an actor and worked with some of their tools and let them video me while I was working on them. So that should be coming out soon too, but that's on their channel, not mine. So hopefully I was allowed to say that. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to, but all right, let's see what else. Can I link to the can I link to the AHR Expo I will be attending in Florida? Yeah, I can definitely send a link. So AHR Expo. Let's see, AHR Expo 2020. All you got to do is go to ahrexpo.com. I'll post a link right now and Control V. That's the AHR Expo I'll be at in Orlando, Florida. It's at the beginning of the year. It's like the last weekend of January, first couple days of February, if I remember right. So let's see, probes and a T. Yeah, Michael, that's what I mean, I have a S-man manifold that I still use too. There's goods and bads to both. So I have an S-man manifold and I have the Fieldpiece job link probes. But if I had to choose between which one, I would encourage you to get the Fieldpiece job link probes. Now, you're also going to need a separate micron gauge also. So I would encourage you to get a micron gauge and some core removal tools to be able to evacuate systems properly. So variable frequency drive changes the frequency of the power output to the motor to control speed. That is correct, Michael. I'm assuming someone is, oh, okay, what is exactly, okay, Greg. So a VFD, yeah, it just changes the frequency, and then, so that way, yeah, it can slow down and speed up a motor. So with a VFD, we can do different things. We can have sensors in the system. So on an air conditioning unit, let's say we have a 10-ton carrier package unit, okay? Typically, it's going to have 2 5-ton compressors. Well, general rule of thumb is that for every ton of refrigeration in an air conditioner, you need 400 CFMs of air flowing across the evaporator, okay? So if you have a 5-ton, 2,000 CFMs, right? Well, what happens when you have a 10-ton? In the past, we would have a 3-phase motor running the indoor blower, and when you only called for 1 compressor, you were still moving 4,000 CFMs of air across that evaporator. But when you would go to both stages, then it would, you would get your full 4,000 CFMs of air. Now, that's just a rule of thumb number, okay? Understand that different climates, they may tweak those numbers. But so to save energy, what they've done is they've added a VFD to the unit. Essentially, they made it a 2-speed unit. So when, and again, on a 10-ton unit, so when only 1 compressor is running, they might slow down the indoor blower motor to save energy and also get more efficiency out of the unit to half speed or something close to half speed. So that way it's a lot closer to the required airflow. And then when the second stage calls, they might speed it up to get that full airflow, okay? So that's the purpose, but there's all kinds of other features we can use a VFD for. We can use them for a soft starter, so that way we save energy and don't get that high spike when something turns on. We can slowly ramp up the speed. And then they can also have all kinds of motor controls built into the VFD. It can act as a motor starter and a motor protector. It can also do, it can do so much different stuff, okay? And they use VFDs in industrial settings to save energy. But bottom line, variable frequency drives are meant to save energy, which saves money. That's the bottom line, what we have a VFD for. So VFD stands for variable frequency drive. All right, let's see what else. Have I tried the new latest Testo probes? Brett from Brisbane. No, Brett. I am honestly, I can't say anything bad about Testo because I've never used Testo products. Testo, it's kind of hit and miss. Fieldpiece is the products that I use, and they're very popular. They're very competitive with Testo, but I've never really used the Testo stuff. I will have to say, Brett, that for me in the United States, one thing that I don't like about Testo, again, I've never had their products, but I've just looked at their products, okay, is they're basically designed for everywhere else in the world and not so much the United States, okay? And what I mean is like when you look at their app for the Testo Smart Probes, it's just not very non-metric system friendly. All right. The units and different things, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it was really designed for us. And I realize that in the United States, we're ass backwards because we don't use the metric system, unlike the rest of the world. You know, we have our standard units. We're different, okay? But it is what it is. But no, I don't want to talk crap about the Testo probes because I can't honestly give a bad review on them because I've never used them or any other Testo products. But I've heard other people give bad reviews about them, but I'm just not really something that I really want to get trying on those. So let's see. You remember a YouTuber saying certain brands of VFDs have been breaking a lot lately. That might have been me, HVAC with Greg, because I've made some videos about a bunch of VFDs I was having problems with. So let me see. What is the point of a 3-step vacuum process? Okay, 4-liter powered. In the past, when we did not have very good tools, all right, we used to do something called a triple evacuation, all right? It has pretty much been proven that a triple evacuation is useless nowadays, okay? A lot of people thought that, let me say that, you know, one of the arguments with a triple evacuation, a lot of times, because what you would do is you would pull down to a certain level, you would break the vacuum, and again, when the triple evacuation first started, we would break the vacuum with R22, run R22 through it, then pull it down again, then break the vacuum with R22. You know, nowadays they tell you to do it with nitrogen, okay? Because obviously they don't want to vent that stuff into the atmosphere. But, you know, nitrogen really doesn't, a lot of people think that it absorbs moisture, but it really doesn't, all right? At least from the reading that I've done and the videos that I've watched from the super smart people, nitrogen really just pushes things along, all right? So the whole point of a triple evacuation, you really don't need to do that. If you have something like the True Blue hoses, which is what I use, or the big giant Appion hoses, which I have too, you can pull an evacuation without a triple evac and you're good. All right. You don't need it. I think that a lot of people push the whole, you know, triple evac thing just because they don't want to take the time to pull a proper evacuation. And I think there's a lack of proper information out there too. Again, I'm not a super genius. I know that there's a gentleman named Jim Bergman. He has some videos on YouTube on evacuations, and there's some great science behind what he talks about and, you know, why we don't need a triple evac anymore and how you can pull a proper vacuum with just large hoses. You know, 1/4-inch hoses that are connected to your manifold with Schrader ports in the system, that's what's restricting your vacuum. That's what's taking so long. Get rid of those 1/4-inch hoses. If you can only do one thing to pull a better vacuum is get a 3/8-inch hose. But even a 3/8-inch hose isn't big enough, okay? You're limiting your pump. It doesn't matter how big of a pump that you buy. If you hook a 1/4-inch hose up to it, I think you're pulling like 1 or 2 CFMs through that hose. So you can have a 10 CFM vacuum pump and you're only getting 1 CFM or something like that through the hose because of the restriction that the hose creates. So, you know, big hoses is the key to a proper vacuum. Big hoses for sure. And proper placement of a micron gauge. Again, you know, we have manifolds, the Testo manifold, the field piece manifold. While they have their benefits, they have a micron gauge in them. Well, I don't know if the Testo does. I know the Testo has a separate micron gauge. But anyways, a micron gauge in your manifold isn't a great idea. I'm not saying, I have a field piece manifold that has a micron gauge, and it has uses. But having the micron gauge in there gives you a false reading, because if you're pulling that vacuum and your micron gauge in your field piece manifold while it's pulling it down says 500 microns, if you took an independent micron gauge and put it in the furthest point away from where your gauges are hooked up, it's not going to probably read 500 microns. It's a skewed number because when you pull through your manifold, the micron gauge is closer to your manifold than it is in the system. So it's going to show a lower rating. So you have to do something called a decay test where you isolate the vacuum pump, let the system stabilize. Then you could still use your manifold if you did a proper decay test, but you're going to see better results if you use an independent micron gauge somewhere on the system and big fat hoses. I prefer the True Blue hoses by AccuTools. They're quite expensive, but they will save you time and money. The Appion hoses, they make some big giant vacuum hoses. Those are definitely some good hoses too. I used to have the Appions. In fact, I still have them. If you have the Appion hoses, I don't suggest changing to the True Blues just because, you know, but, you know, if you need new vacuum hoses, I would personally suggest going to the True Blue ones for sure. So I know I went off on a tangent there, but, yeah, hopefully I answered your question, bud. All right, let's see. Do I ever work on swamp coolers? Yeah, Greg, I work on swamp coolers all the time here in Southern California, but we deal with them a lot out in the desert. 21-year-old, interview this week for a company to hire you. Go to HVAC school, used to be a CNC operator. Oh, right on, bud. I appreciate you watching, man. How big of a motor can you put in a 5-ton AC? Daniel Sheets. It really depends on, typically in a 5-ton AC, I don't think you're going to have anything bigger than like a 1 horsepower motor, but that's just a rule of thumb. You want to look at the amount of airflow you need to move through that 5-ton AC, whatever the manufacturer set it up for. So you need to lean on the manufacturer and the drive system that motor is going to be turning, because, you know, maybe it needs bigger than a 1 horsepower. Maybe it needs a 0.5 horsepower. It just depends. All right. It just depends on the drive that it's spinning, basically. Is a rotary compressor used in refrigerators? Yes, they do use rotary compressors mainly in mini split air conditioning and some residential air conditioning. They are using rotary compressors in some ice machines, some commercial ice machines. So yeah, rotary compressors are being used for sure. Makeup air producing too much air and exhaust not pulling? Question mark. Anthony, are you answering the questions? Oh, your questions aren't posting. Yeah, they're there, Anthony. I just don't think that you're seeing them, bud. Are you asking me if your makeup air is producing too much air and the exhaust not pulling? It sounds like you need a proper air balance, Anthony. Let me see. Yeah, Greg. Are we? Yeah, we kind of are wrapping this one up for sure, huh? 5. Yeah, it's time to wrap this up for sure anyways, but I'm surprised we're still keeping 200 people in here. That's kind of crazy, man. Anthony, are you asking me a question though, bud? I don't know what your question is. If your makeup air is not producing too much and the exhaust is not pulling, then what you need to do is you need to have an air balance company come out and figure out where the problem is. If everything is working correctly with the motors for the makeup air and the exhaust fan, there's no obstructions in the ductwork, the filters are all clean, all that good stuff, then we need to balance the system out. So you need to have the perfect amount of exhaust and makeup air coming in to balance it out. Let's see. What kind of compressor do they use in mini countertop ice makers? They typically use a little hermetically sealed, like 6th through 3rd horsepower compressor, Greg. Yeah, definitely air balance. All right, gentlemen, I'm getting hungry for dinner, so I'm going to wrap this up. I really appreciate it. We definitely got very close to 150 likes. If those of you that haven't already hit the like button, please do. Let's try to keep it up. We made it up to 137. So, but yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming into this stream. Remember, I do these streams Monday evenings, 5 p.m. Pacific time, work permitting, so long as I don't have anything going on. I plan to keep doing them, okay? Try to do 2 videos a week. Please, please, please consider subscribing to my new YouTube channel, HVACR Tools. Again, I don't got any videos on there yet, but I will soon. For those of you that sent me emails about the movie quote, I'll definitely find the first person that sent me an email and I'll respond to you and we'll talk about getting your prize to you, okay? Yeah, dinner is getting cold. I've never worked on a cold draft ice machine lead mining. I've heard a lot of good things about them, but never done it. Joe Burke, how many years do you have to go to school for HVACR? It really depends, bud. Send me an email. We can talk about it a little bit more, okay? All right, I'm going to go ahead and cue up the outro music. Again, I really, really appreciate you guys. Let me pull this up right now. Let me turn my front webcam off. Let me turn that on. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and cue up the outro music. I really, really appreciate it. Joe, dude, thank you for that super chat, man. Really, really cool, man. Thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and exit on out of here, and we will catch you guys on the next one, okay?